the convener of the Youth Congress, is an author as well. That is conversation about the youth in Kenya. So we look forward to also hearing from him late in the course of the program. We're eagerly waiting also of the Cabinet Secretary of Youth and Gender. This is Professor Margaret Kobia to join us much late in the course of the program. Also Stella Agara, who is the AU Youth Ambassador, will be also here on the program. Also, we're waiting for the CEO of the National Youth Council. This is Roy Sasaka, who will join us much later on in the course of the program as well. And also the CEO of Youth Agenda, Diana Sifuna. You see the young people are running late.
We must improve, man. We need to improve.
6 on the nose, but the young people are still sleeping.
Time waits for no man, and if you want to succeed, I think one of the things...
This really messed me up this morning.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Right, we look forward actually to engaging, but you know also what to do. Head over to our Twitter handle, which is AM Live NTV, AM Live NTV, our profile name on Facebook, and 20686, our SMS portal. But as always, we begin with the dailies, and this is what you are waking up to this morning. On the front page of a Daily Nation is all about love, divorce, and the missing golf tycoon. That is what we have on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning. Detectives dumbfounded by 2 letters written before tycoon disappeared. Where is he? One of Kenya's richest men has gone missing, and the story of his last days before he disappeared is straight from a crime thriller novel, complete with letters to lawyers and an apology to his estranged wife. You have a story on page 5 of the Daily Nation, and that is all about investigation. And also EPL, frenetic kickoff today. Manchester City have Premier League immortality in their sights as they start their title defense this weekend, but Liverpool's burning desire to get their hands on the trophy will fuel a heavyweight battle for supremacy. In the blue corner, treble winners City are at the peak of their powers and look capable of enjoying a period of sustained dominance not seen since Manchester United and 3 successive Premier League titles from 2000 to 2009. You have this story well fleshed out for you on page 63 and, right, they're saying 63 and 63. Maybe it should be the same page, but I think that's a typo. You can actually follow this story on page 63 and 64 of the Daily Nation today. Also still on the front page of the Daily Nation, more details I should give you about this particular story of love, divorce, and missing golf tycoon. There are rumors all over. It is not the first time he has disappeared, because my husband can go for 2 weeks without calling anyone. This is what Sarah Wairimo Kamodo, the estranged wife of Dutch millionaire Tob Cohen, spoke to the Daily Nation, saying that. And we have also the timeline of mystery. From February 8th, 2019, Cohen reports assault by his wife to Parklands Police Station. July the 20th, a letter is sent to OCS Parklands to withdraw assault case. July the same day, another letter is sent to divorce lawyer Judy Thongori, withdrawing his case against his wife. The same day as well, Cohen leaves home. Wife claims he left for Thailand. On the 22nd of July, police closed the assault case. Then 30th, Cohen's sister Gabrielle Cohen alerts Dutch authorities that her brother is missing in Kenya. And this is a story you can follow on page 5 of today's Daily Nation today. Let's see also what we have on top here. TSC, why we cut teachers' pay. Teachers Service Commission had pressed to explain why it slashed the salaries of unionizable members this month, tells the Nation that it's just the tip of the iceberg, as it plans to recover money already paid as part of CBA since 2017. You can follow this story inside the Daily Nation as well. Let's see what we have on the front page of the Standard. And this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Standard this morning. Hoping it won't act upon me. The Standard, let me try and retrieve that again to see if we can get it. Wait for it. There we go. Governors panic as court hits Waititu is a splash today. And you can see also the chapfallen face of Waititu there. Is this really Waititu? But it says here, other county bosses with pending criminal cases have reasons to worry after judge suspends and bars Kiambu boss from transacting any official business or setting foot in office. This is a story you want to follow on page 8 of today's Standard. Also still here, we can see the sidebar, how fatally ill patients get set for death. It's all about health. Medics say a number are issuing written. Medics say a number are issuing written, verbal, or audio recording of how they want to be taken care of in preparation for their deaths. This story continues on page 3 of the Standard this morning. Also, Portland sends all staff home in restructuring. Employees have been asked to reapply for their jobs, with the cement maker set to rehire only a few as it seeks a lean of workforce. That is what we have also in the business segment of the Standard this morning. Also, Kenya slipping into grip of terror gangs. All about insecurity. Report says there are over 300 gangs in reigning terror by killing, maiming, and kidnapping for ransom, with majority in Mombasa, Bungoma, Kisumu, and Kwale counties. This story continues on page 6 and 7 of the Standard this morning. This is how it looks. Grab a copy for yourself. Also remember, you have the pull-out magazine polls also inside the Standard this morning. The Star is up next, and this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Star. 4 presidents to unveil Raila's handshake baby. 4 presidents to unveil Raila's handshake baby. KPA MD Daniel Manduku says the project has potential to dramatically change the fortunes of the lakeside city. 3 billion shillings Kisumu Port project is seen as major handshake benefit. It's all about goodies, and this story is tucked away on page 4 and 5 of the Star this morning. Also, these are the faces of the rapists. We have rugby players found guilty of gang raping. This is Alex Okaba and Francis Wanyama at the Milimani Law Courts in Nairobi yesterday. They deleted sex tape, and they were arraigned in court yesterday where they were found guilty. You can follow this story also inside the Star this morning. Also, Magoha wants EACC to probe use of school cash. Education Cabinet Secretary George Magoha wants the EACC and DPP to investigate cash use in schools. In new policy proposals, Magoha wants the Ministry's Directorate of School Audits and the EACC to work together to reveal any shady dealings by principals. Remember, he said previously that these public officers are thieves. Most of Kenyans are thieves, he says. You can follow the story on page 6 of the Star this morning. DCI gets 734 million shillings freeze water order over Kimwa Red Dam. The court has frozen accounts of one of the companies that is believed to have pocketed more than 700 million shillings from the Kimwa Red and Road dam scandals. Senior Magistrate Caroline Nzibe allowed the application by the DCI seeking to investigate the accounts and in the meantime freeze them. You have the story tucked away on page 6 of the Star. Treasury defends KCB National Bank takeover. The Treasury has defended the multi-billion shilling takeover of National Bank of Kenya by KCB. This comes a day after the National Assembly opposed the move. Acting Treasury CS Ukuri Yatani said the state is a principal shareholder in the two banks and supports need for stronger bank. You have the story continuing on page 14 of today's Star. Paper Daily is up next, and I'll try and retrieve that momentarily for you. But we can actually also pick up the Taifa Leo for you and see what it is holding for us. This is what is on the front page of Taifa Leo this morning. Nyoro, anyorosha baba yao. That is what we have. Nice play on words there. Koti yaamua naibu gavana wa Kiambu sasa ndiye mwenye madaraka, Waitutu ambiwa akae nyumbani. That is a story that you can follow on page 2 of today's Taifa Leo. In a moment, we'll buckle down to business as I try and also retrieve for you the People Daily. If I don't find the soft copy, I'll just show you what we have as the hard copy. But as we buckle down to business, let's see what the Business Daily is holding for us. And this is what you're waking up to on the front page of the Business Daily this morning. Where's the Business Daily? I think it's really eluding me as well. But let's go to Uganda first of all, as we see what is on the front page of the Daily Monitor. This is on the front page of the Daily Monitor today. It says Asians properties, list of people government paid off. A list of the properties released by Bank of Uganda shows that the owners were compensated in 1976, but some of the assets have been dubiously acquired or repossessed by private individuals. This story continues on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Monitor. If you're waking up in Uganda, there you go. That is what we have on the front page of the Daily Monitor. Also still on the front page of the Daily Monitor, we have over 10,000 NGOs illegal. This is what officials are saying. Over 10,000 NGOs are illegal. That is what we have also on the front page of the Daily Monitor. If you're waking up in Uganda, also former PS Nasali, others charged over corruption. And here they are. From left to right, former Ministry of Education PS Rose Nasali, Dr. Opio Okiror, and also we have here Mr. Cuthbert Kagabo at the Anti-Corruption Court in Kololo, Kampala yesterday. They were charged with causing a financial loss and abuse of office and later released on a cash bail of 3 million shillings each. This story continues on page 6 of the Daily Monitor. If you're waking up in Uganda, there is your story. I want to show you also what we have on the front page of the New Times. If you're waking up in Rwanda, we have New Times for you. Just to zoom out on the Daily Monitor, that is how it looks today. Let's move on and see what is happening in Rwanda. This is the New Times there. New faces to dominate senatorial campaigns. That is what we have on the front page of the New Times in Rwanda. And it says the deadline is today, Friday, for the submission of candidature or candidates. That is the candidatures for those expected to vie for 14 elective seats in the Rwandan Senate during the senatorial polls slated for next month, according to the National Electoral Commission. Despite window that allowed for the ongoing senators to vie for another term, they had by Thursday not received any candidature from the outgoing members. That is how it looks on the front page of the New Times. Kagame calls on youth to uphold Rwandan values. President Kagame can be seen here addressing members of the 12th Itorero Indagamirwa as they pass out at the Gabiro Combat Training Center in Gatsibo district on Thursday. The president urged the 698 youths to be custodians of the Rwandan culture as they grow up by specifically attaching the much deserved value to Kinyarwanda language. The story continues on page 4 of the New Times in Rwanda. And maybe also, if you haven't picked up your copy of the East African this week, you should, because this is the last day. And this is what it has been also talking about. Kenya's plan to secure Indian Ocean oil gas. President Kenyatta has kicked off a charm-fueled offensive to marshal support at AU and UN. The full report is on page 4 of the East African this week. Also, scarcity amid power glut. Why a vast majority of Africans still live in darkness despite having excess electricity. The full report is on page 8 and 9 of the East African this week. Also, tragedy of young humans with price tags. What does a child bring or child bride bring into a family? Dowry, business? Those are the abiding questions, but you have the answers also on page 23, 26, and 27 of the East African this week. Also, share price blues on the Cipla counter. Institutional investors' dilemma as drag maker on losing track. That is inside the market on page 49 of the East African this week as well. And if you've not also grabbed a copy of the Nairobi Law Monthly, please do. Supreme Court, a perpetual legitimacy crisis is what is a splash today or this month, and that is how it looks. Also, hotbed of impunity, I should say. How the state sets you up to lose. The story continues on page 18 of the Nairobi Law Monthly. We have also the Nairobi Business Monthly. And of course, also that is turning its focus on the KCB NBK takeover. Unmasking the scandal. Why is the National Bank of Kenya, a listed company that belongs to the public, being taken over at a tenth of its value by a privately owned KCB. That is a biting question there. You follow the story also inside the latest copy of the Nairobi Business Monthly. Already we can see there's a row between also the National Assembly. The Treasury has also come in and said this is the way to go as far as the takeover is concerned. So you can read all about this also inside the Nairobi Business Monthly, where it is unmasking the scandal as well. The Business Daily is up next, and this is what is holding on the front page of the Business Daily. U.S. celebrities test NSC with marijuana farm plan. U.S. celebrities test Nairobi Security Exchange with marijuana farm plan. That is what we have on the front page of the Business Daily today. Let me just zoom in for you to also read what it says here. New York bank dealing company announces plan to join Kenyan stock market. The U.S. company involved in the cultivation and processing of marijuana to cross list of the Nairobi Security Exchange, putting to test Kenya's resolve to maintain the drug on the list of banned narcotics amid legislative pressure to legalize it. Remember also there is that marijuana bill that was also sponsored or being fronted by the late Ken Okoth as well. And also Kenya we had this particular story also in the Business Daily, how also some farms or some actually foreign farms want to come and plant or cultivate the marijuana farms here in the country. Could this be it? Right, this is a story that you want to follow also inside the Business Daily today. Still on the front page of the Business Daily, Treasury resists MP's directive in KCB buyout of rival bank. That is NBK. That is a sidebar story there. Also, Portland Cement sacks 800 staff to rehire on 40% pay cut. That is also a story that you want to follow on page 4 of the Business Daily today. On the ticker today, also, ex-US diplomats oppose push to blacklist Shabab. There has been this debate. You can see it there. Let me just try and zoom out a bit. That is here. And you can follow the story on page 4. It says more than a dozen retired senior US diplomats and humanitarian chiefs have launched an attack on Kenya's bid to have the UN list Somali militants Al-Shabaab as terror organization. This has been the debate, and that story continues on page 6. Also, 20 billion shillings is the digit. The amount said to have been lost in Kimwerel and Arol Dam projects. The story continues on page 5 of the Business Daily. Choppies signs deal to pay debt. Choppies signs deal to pay debt. Local shareholders of Choppies supermarket will bail out this retailer to settle part of its supplier debt, estimated at 600 million shillings, as it looks to restock its stores and inject life into the struggling business. The story continues on page 8 of the Business Daily. Mobile money transactions hit 215 billion shillings in H1. The value of the deals settled through mobile phones in the first year 2019 rebound from last year's slowdown to grow by 215.29 billion shillings, pointing to cooling off of political temperatures and rapidly changing innovations and disruptions in financial services. This story continues on page 19 of the Business Daily today. That is the first half of the year, and that is a story that you want to follow as well. So make sure you grab a copy today of the Business Daily also, where you have the weekend edition pull-out magazine inside there. Today's obituary is of the Nobel laureate there. That is Toni Morrison, a trailblazer and champion for minorities. Her story is on page 26. She died at the age of 88. Also on technology, it's time to examine Kenya's plans for digital future. And Bostock, why CEOs need to take the long-term view in decisions. This continues on page 3 of the Business Daily. I want to show you the editorial cartoons that we have today. Or maybe I should also show you what we have on the front page of... I want to show you what we have on the front page of... Where is it? Let me show you the editorial cartoons that we have so far. Maybe also, before I go to the cartoons, I can show you what we have on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And Trump visits grieving cities as gun control debate boils. Is that a story that you want to follow? And you can see here mourners attending a wake Wednesday for shooting victims Elsa Mendoza, one of the 22 people killed in the El Paso, Texas attack. That is what we have on the front page of the Wall Street. Stocks, CISO, bond yields decline. That is another story. Do you want to follow inside also the Wall Street Journal today? Also, we have the editorial cartoons. Let's just begin. All right, coming soon. Proposed site for MPs, babies daycare and breastfeeding. Budget 200 billion shillings. This is projects to be funded by Wanjiku. Of course, that will be bloated, and this is what Steno is actually capturing in the People Daily. I want to show you also what we have on the front page of, not really the front page, but the editorial cartoon inside the Standard. And this is what Gado has drawn for us. Punguza Mizigo, election 22. And you can see there the Punda is really settled with so much luggage. And you can see a bazooka there. Of course, you can see the referendum. And there is a Kurao court with that particular megaphone. Of course, speaking about the referendum. But is it about the 2022 elections, or is about the Wanjiku with the Punguza Mizigo? That is what has been captured by Gado inside the Standard today. I leave it for you to decipher. Punda Mechoka. That is what we have inside the Daily Nation today, or the Standard. Right, you can grab a copy of the dailies for these compelling stories as well. But we want to buckle down to our stories internationally and see what is happening. Let's just begin in Libya, where Libya deported 141 Sudanese migrants on Thursday from Benghazi's Benina airports as part of a voluntary return program. The group that was deported did not include any children, according to Sharaf Hawedi, head of the Benghazi Department for Countering Illegal Migration. The trip is the first in a program that aims to voluntarily return migrants who do not hold legal residency on Libyan soil, according to Sudan's Consul General Omar Saleh. Libya is one of the main departure points for African migrants fleeing poverty and war to try to reach its boat, but many are picked up and brought back by the Libyan Coast Guard, supported by the European Union. Last month, a migrant detention center in Tripoli was hit by a deadly airstrike. The conflict in Libya threatens to disrupt oil supplies, boost migration across the Mediterranean to Europe, scupper UN plans for an election, and create a security void that Islamist militants could fill. People smugglers have exploited the turmoil to send hundreds of thousands of migrants on dangerous journeys across the central Mediterranean, though the number of crossing dropped sharply from 2017 amid EU-backed push to block departures. Migrant detention centers are nominally under the government, but often controlled by armed groups. President Donald Trump has said no one is authorized to speak to Iran on behalf of the United States. And he accused French President Emmanuel Macron of sending mixed signals to Tehran over possible talks. I know Emmanuel means well, as do all others, but nobody speaks for the United States but the United States itself. Trump said this in a series of tweets. It was not immediately clear what Trump was referring to, but a report earlier this week saying Macron had invited Iranian President Hassan Rouhani to this month's G7 summit to meet Trump. A French diplomat denied the report on Wednesday. Representatives for the White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Trump's Iran tweets. European leaders are seeking to defuse the brewing confrontation between Tehran and Washington after Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear last year, that is the deal, and renewed sanctions in an effort to push a new deal under the U.S. Republican president. Tehran has responded with a series of moves, including seizing a British tanker in the Gulf and retreating from some of its commitments to limit its nuclear activity made under the deal. The crisis is expected to be a focus at the G7 summit later this month. Trump and his administration officials have previously said Trump is open to talks with Iran and that the United States does not want war with Iran. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Thursday commented on India and called on India and Pakistan to refrain from any steps that could affect the special status of the disputed regions of Kashmir and Jammu. Guterres was concerned over reports of restrictions on India's side of Kashmir and warned that such actions could exacerbate the human rights situation in the region. Guterres spokesman Stephanie Dujarric said this in a statement. Listen in.
The Secretary General has been following the situation in Jammu and Kashmir with concern and makes an appeal for maximum restraint. The position of the United Nations on this region is governed by the Charter of the United Nations and applicable Security Council resolutions. The Secretary General also recalls the 1972 Agreement on Bilateral Relations between India and Pakistan, also known as the Simla Agreement, which states that the final status of Jammu and Kashmir is to be settled by peaceful means in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations. The Secretary General is also concerned over reports of restrictions on the Indian side of Kashmir, which could exacerbate the human rights situation in the region. The Secretary General calls on all parties to refrain from taking steps that could affect the status of Jammu and Kashmir.
Brazilian prosecutors are dropping a rape case against soccer star Neymar, likely bringing an end to the most serious of charges against the Paris Saint-Germain striker. The former Brazil captain was accused of raping a model in a Paris hotel room, but he alleged the encounter was consensual, and prosecutors could not find evidence to contradict that. A judge must now sign off on the decision that had been recommended by police who investigated the accusations, but Neymar's family celebrated the announcement as the end of the matter. The case received worldwide attention in May when a model accused a former Barcelona and Santos striker of raping her in a hotel room after the two met on social media. Neymar denied the accusations and released private chats and lurid photos they had exchanged. He still faces a separate inquiry. And I left you hanging there. He still faces a separate inquiry into whether he committed a crime by posting intimate pictures online. So we're still following that particular story. And finally, Rafael Nadal breezed past Guido Pella in straight sets 6-3, 6-4 to reach the quarterfinals at the Rogers Cup in Montreal. Take a look. We're turning our focus this morning on the youth biology in the country. Remember also on the 12th is the International Youth Day, and there is also a function that is ongoing today at the United Nations, and since the 6th up to the 12th also a lot of flurry of activities have been on the front as far as the International Youth Day is concerned. And we're here to discuss about this plight of the youth in the country. Kenya is one of many nations experiencing a youth bulge with over 20% of its population aged 15 and 24, a population of nearly 10 million young people on the cusp of adulthood, eager to take up full social and economic participation. And yet, with a youth employment rate of only around 22%, Kenya faces the danger of a lost generation. A burgeoning youth population full of drive, yet lacking clear pathways to jobs and social roles that will help them fulfill their promises. Yet, this danger is also an opportunity. Many nations with youth bulge populations, particularly in East Asian economies, have experienced real and lasting demographic dividends. Successfully negotiated, Kenya's youth bulge could translate into real benefits for the Kenyan economy. Now, according to the United Nations, projections, the world's population will reach 10 billion people by 2015. And more than 90% of this growth will happen in low and middle income countries. Of the 2.5 billion people expected to be added to the global population between 2017 and 2055, more than 1%, or 1.4 billion, I should say, that is 57%, will be added in Africa. That is also an eye-popping figure. Decades of very high fertility in Africa, coupled with rapidly declining child mortality, have created a population age structure dominated by young people under the age of 25. The demographics of the East African community, particularly those of Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda, mirror those of Africa. Around 20% of the 127 million people in these four countries are between the ages of 15 and 24 and can be labeled, I should say, as youth, according to the United Nations definition. When the ratio of the working age population to dependents increases, a window of opportunity opens for accelerated economic growth, a phenomenon called the demographic dividend, that is the DD. And we want to buckle down to a discussion this morning with our panelists who are already here. Of course, if you joined us at the top of the hour, we introduced to you Raphael Obonyo, who is a UN Youth Advisor, also is a convener of the Youth Congress, an author of conversations about the youth in Kenya. We have with us also Diana Sifuna, who is the CEO of Youth Agenda Kenya. We do have with us as well Stella Agara, who is the Youth Ambassador at the EU. And also, we're joined this morning by the Cabinet Secretary of Youth and Gender. This is Professor Margaret Kobia. Right, good morning to you. Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Morning, Debarl.
All right? I should be serving you tea. I know you're taking yeah, actually, I can see some actually in your cups already. So why the low energy? Why the low energy? Yeah?
It's early morning.
It's a youthful conversation. Yeah? Right, we're eagerly waiting also for Roy Sasaka to join us. He's the CEO of the National Youth Council. This is really a bad show from also a CEO, especially to the youth this morning who are watching. Yeah, but yeah, kudos to Raphael Obonyo, who was early.
Yes.
Yeah, 6 on the nose.
I was paving the way for
You're
the
paving
CS,
the way. Yeah.
Diana and Stella.
And also at least for Diana Sifuna. Yeah? Yes. But shame on you. This is Stella Agara.
She said she was stuck in traffic.
She was stuck in traffic. That is normally the trot excuse that you normally have traffic. Yeah, I woke up late. Yes, but good to see you nonetheless. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you joining us this morning. So, yes, International Youth, of course, has been ongoing. That is International Youth Day that will culminate on Monday. So, but you've been observing a lot of activities as far as this particular event that will, should I say, the crescendo on Monday. So, there's a build-up of activities towards it, and also today is a big day at the UN, and of course also CS will tell us what is there up their collective sleeves as far as the preparation for this particular day is concerned. Good to see you. You can tell us more about what will be happening today, and of course the theme that is running under this year is transforming education, and that is broad. Transforming education, especially in light of what we're going on with also in the country here as far as the curriculum is concerned. So that will also generate a good debate as well. But, Professor, just tell us today what is in the pipeline.
Thank you very much. As you are aware that we are celebrating International Youth Day.
Yes.
And for Kenya, we took it to be a week-long activities.
Week-long activities.
Yeah, just to focus on youth issues and what the government and other stakeholders are doing to start and continue the progress of empowering the youth. So right from Monday, we had the launch of the week, which started at Embu.
Okay.
And the Embu youth decided to theme it youth in agribusiness, which means trying to find opportunities for a job. Then we had another activity yesterday in University of Nairobi,
yes,
where the youth, youth are always saying that we are not giving them an opportunity for participation and engagement. So these are providing those opportunities for them to bring their concern and for a voice. And particularly today we have at the UN Gigiri, Nairobi headquarters,
yes,
where we will have a whole day of activities just for various speakers, including the Secretary General, who will give his key message on a video link for the purpose of knowing it's an International Youth Day on 12 August. And again, it's also set a message that youth agenda is a global agenda. That's why the UN has decided to have this day celebrated every year. So we have our chief guest for today at the UN Igiri is Right Honorable Raila Odinga, former Prime Minister, and we are expecting about 1,000 youth.
1,000 youth.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a huge number.
Yes, and then on Monday 12th, although it has become a public holiday, we still intend to go ahead and have the celebration because we have already put everything in place. And we are hoping Muslim communities also be able to join us in Equare, which is the International Youth Day celebration itself. And I think this one kind of takes stock of, because it's an annual event, what did the government and other stakeholders commit to do in last year's International Youth Day, and how can they demonstrate what they have done is kind of being held accountable. So we are looking at that opportunity to celebrate for government to demonstrate what we have done since the last International Youth Day, and also to give the youth an opportunity to engage. There will be kind of various discussion, exhibitions, all touching on the process of youth empowerment. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much. And of course, also because of interest of time, we just want to hear from you as well. You have the lectern there. You've been here before, Diana Sifuna. Raphael Obonyo is also been here before, so he knows the drill. Stella Agara as well. You know also the drill. So I have my red card and my yellow card and my bell for timekeeping sake. So if you see, you have each of you 5 minutes. If you see me raising the yellow card, just know you're midway. So don't get startled and then you walk over from the lectern before you finished. But if you see the red card, just know you should be winding up your thoughts. And I'll also just toll my bell if you go over your 5 minutes. And of course, I'll come and yank you off from the lectern if you continue as well. So we want to hear from you this morning, especially what we're going through as a country. We know we have all this youth bulge, what they're calling the demographic dividend. But how can we tap into this? Because this is a huge resource. We can see already a lot of frustration when it comes to the issue of employment. A measly 22% of the youth are getting employed. Look at the papers. People are going home. And this is a reality on the ground. And a lot of them the youth will be affected by this. Where is the country also headed to? A lot of NSC listed companies also, they've projected their profit warnings as well. So it means also things are not looking very well. It's a bit bleak, black and black as far as the future is concerned. But is there hope, right? Is there hope that we can actually have from this conversation, right? And is education a pivotal component of employment? And does it mean that if you go to school, then you have to actually be a white-collar job? We have many reports done by the British Council, also by the affidavit as well, showing that many people, they want, after employment, they want the collar jobs as well. But what is the reality on the ground? We can also tease out the youth policy that came from the Ministry of the Youth and Gender as well. But before We go on. You can head over to our Twitter handle, which is AM Live NTV. AM Live NTV is our profile name on Facebook, and 20686, our SMS portal. So since we began with Rafael Obonyo, who was here early, we'll go in that order. He's a UN Youth Advisor. He's a convener, the Youth Congress. Rafael should be working on the lectern and should be there as I actually am reading out this. Also, he's an author, Conversation about the Youth in Kenya. And he's a regular columnist also in most of the dailies when he's also discussing about issues to do with youth. Rafael, you've got 5 minutes beginning now.
Thank you so much. International Youth Day is a moment when we reflect on matters youth. Since 1999, UN passed a resolution 54/120 declaring 12th of August to be International Youth Day. And this is World Program of Action for Youth, but we also promote youth affairs. It's a moment for us to reflect on how best we can improve the welfare and the livelihoods of young people. This year, the theme of International Youth Day is transforming education. And it is a moment to ask ourselves, how do we make education available, accessible, and affordable for young people? How do we provide young people with education that can help them access opportunities? How do we make sure that we provide education that can help propel young people to their career aspirations? How do we help in terms of providing education that can help young people to live with dignity? And UN has been shining spotlight on young people, like I said, since 1990. It has been said, and it is true, that a society that fails to tap into the energies, talent, skills, and creativity of its young people will be left behind. As a country, Kenya is a very youthful country.
Yes.
80% of the population of this country is below age 35. I have always argued that youth are Kenya, and we cannot leave Kenya behind. By leaving youth behind, we are leaving Kenya behind. And so we must ask ourselves as a country, even as we celebrate International Youth Day, how best can we tap into the energies of young people? How best can we tap into the creativity of young people? Because the greatest asset that we have as a country is not natural resources, is not even tourism. The greatest resource that we have as a country is actually young people. And truly, if this is the greatest resource that we have, then how best can we invest in them? It has also been said that the stability of any country can be gauged in the condition, just by looking at the condition and the position of young people. As we commemorate and celebrate International Youth Day, we must ask ourselves, what is the condition of young people? What is the position of young people? Are young people meaningfully participating in development and governance processes? Are young people enjoying the economic growth that we keep talking about? Are young people active participants, or young people are mere beneficiaries? And our constitution, the constitution that we passed in 2010, Article 55 obligates the government and the state to provide relevant education and training, to provide opportunities for young people, to ensure that there are employment, there are jobs for young people. And so providing development opportunities for young people is no longer a favor, but a right. And so the government must do more. I know there have been quite a number of interventions to try and ensure youth development, but the question is it enough? In my view, I think a lot more needs to be done to improve the welfare of young people. And to young people themselves, is there hope? Yes, there is hope, and we shouldn't give up. And I want to tell young people a story, just to encourage them to keep working hard. A story is told of a young man who approached an old man. And the young man asked the old man, "Mr. Old Man, what will my future look like?" And the old man told the young man, "There's a way we can tell." And the old man drew two circles, circle A and circle B. And he took a grasshopper and said, "Young man, if this grasshopper lands on circle A, your future will be successful. If it lands on circle B, your future will be tragic." And all this time, this young person was hoping that this grasshopper would land on circle A so that his future will be successful. And the grasshopper went circle A, circle B, circle A, circle B, front, back, circle A, circle B, circle A, circle B, front, back. This young person was hoping this grasshopper would land on circle A so that his future will be successful. But the grasshopper went circle A, circle B, circle A, circle B, and it was just about to get tired on circle B. And that meant that the future of this young person was going to be tragic. This young man grabbed it and placed it on circle A. And the old man asked the young man, "Why did you grab the grasshopper and place it on circle A?" And the young man said, "I cannot stand here and watch a mere grasshopper trying to dictate that my future and my destiny is going to be tragic. I had to take control. I had to take charge. And so as young people, I would want to encourage them to take charge and to take charge of their destiny, to shape their future and to use whatever they have to seize a better future that we all hope for. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raphael. I almost sounded a track for you. Chicka, 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 chicka. Circle A, circle B, circle A, left, right, front, back, circle A. Thank you so much. And of course, by you're saying by leaving the youth behind, we are leaving Kenya behind. I think that is very telling also from Raphael Bonyo. We shall tease at some of the comments he's actually said or actually given us this morning, some of the silent points he's raised this morning. Up next, we want to call upon Diana Sifuna also to work on the lectern as well. He's the CEO of Youth Agenda. Diana will tell us more on also what has been happening, of course, at the University of Nairobi, and of course her perspective about this particular session that we have this year of the International Youth Day that will be commemorated on Monday. You have 5 minutes beginning now, Diana.
Thank you so much, Debarl. Good morning, everyone. As Youth Agenda, we actually act as a citizen watchdog. We're part of civil society, and this year we're very grateful to the efforts being made by the Kenyan government to ensure that there's a multi-sectoral approach in celebrating the International Youth Day, starting with the National Youth Week that, with the ongoing celebrations. I'd say that stakeholders is literally everyone, starting from government, private sector, civil society, faith-based organizations, academia, and the households, the basic households at home. Now, in this year's line with transforming education, I think the main point in the discussion behind it was access to education, the relevance of the education systems that we have and the scope of it. We had very lovely discussions yesterday at the University of Nairobi, courtesy of the State Department for Youth and the National Youth Council, where we discussed with professors present that our first degrees, the first educations that we receive should not really define what jobs we need to get as young people. Employment is the crisis that if you get young people in a room, that will come out. I'm not sure if I'll get a job. And one of the interesting solutions that were being presented, because we can't sing about the problems all the time. The solutions being presented were that one leg needs to be in the training institutions and another leg in the industry, such that you're actually studying and you're working at the same time. You're being an apprentice. I'd actually be keen to know, Debarl, how many interns your show this morning. Also, just to talk about the youth agenda being the global agenda, as the CS has said, yes, we do need to have inclusion of young people, but beyond inclusion, we need to have meaningful engagement. Meaningful engagement means that do you listen to what the youth are saying when you're having a convening of them? When you convene 1,000 youths, do you only listen to what the experts are saying, or are you having an interactive session where if they tell you that they're in high school and there's bullying, there's exam cheating, and they have solutions and they tell you the problem is probably the curriculum is too compact. So then we feel like we don't want to fail exams. That's why we are cheating. So how about then we make that curriculum a bit easier for them to understand? Because in life, dialogue is very important. We can't assume that youths are not capable of making decisions or youths are not capable of handling the issues that affect them. Intergenerational dialogue needs to happen. More research needs to happen so that then the government or the other agencies can take note of the actual realities on the ground. Now, as Youth Agenda, we are mobilizers of youth networks in Kenya. We are enablers of the same youth networks and facilitators of such. As such, we've been part of the great movements like the Women Embrace movement in the political participation to ensure that young women are included in it. In the Building Bridges initiatives, we support the Youths for Building Bridges Initiative Kenya. In the different counties, we have members in different counties starting from Kwale, Kisumu, Kericho, Nandi, Kakamega, and all the other counties. So currently, in partnership with World Vision, we're doing a campaign called #TwangaPicha. Anyone can access that on our Twitter handles. And what we want to see is that we want to ascertain the status of the youth economic empowerment centers that the government is saying is in place. They're saying that the culmination of the International Youth Day on the 12th of August, which is next week on Monday, will be at Matuga Youth Empowerment Center in Kwale District or Kwale County. And we want to know what is the status of the other 150-something that will not be highlighted on that day. So #TwangaPicha. is on our Twitter handles and our Instagrams. We want to know the status of those economic empowerment centers. Young people, please send us photos. Let us hold government to account. Let us be the citizen watchdogs that we need to be, and let us empower a society that is more inclusive and one that actually enables things to happen and things to move. So thank you so much for the opportunity again, and let's meet together in Kwale. Our youth network in Kwale is called Kwale Youth Governance Consortium. They will be present. They've helped mobilize the young people to receive the president and also to just celebrate the opening of the Matuga Economic Empowerment Center. I
hope I didn't interrupt you with the yellow card.
Yes, I think you did, but it's
but
fine.
I told you got the red card to be winding up, so you got like 2 more minutes to go. But okay. If you're done, that's good.
So, asanteni sana. Thank you. That means I have 1 more minute or something.
Sure.
So, Twanga Picha campaign is something that I really want us to talk more about. And I'm sure Youth Congress will agree with me, and Stella will agree with me. And CS will agree with me too. In fact, she's the best ambassador for young people. Thank you. We met at the Women Deliver conference in Vancouver, and we spoke about youth inclusion, and youth actually deliver. Some of the resolutions passed there were actually touching on the young people. So the reality is on the ground. Send us the photos. Twanga Picha campaign is what Youth Agenda is here to tell you. In all the 47 counties, we want to see the photos of the status of the youth empowerment centers that the government is putting in place. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Diana. Status of the Youth Empowerment Centers, Twanga Picture. If you, of course, have had her call this morning, do that so that we can see what is the status down there. But also, more importantly, she's talked about the meaningful engagement. And we had this also from the Next Generation Kenya. That was a research done by the British Council. And they're saying that our voices have been assumed, not heard. Our voices have been assumed, not heard. Director may just pick up this. This is what the young people are saying. Yes, our voices have been assumed, not heard. We are speaking, and people are just riding on the assumption of our voices. Stella Agara is up next. She's the AU Youth Ambassador. She'll walk to the lectern to also talk to us about her views about the youth dividend in this country and what can we do to tap it in light of what we are celebrating this week. This is the International Youth Day that will also have the culmination on Monday at the United Nations Gigiri. That will be the celebrations that, of course, we've heard from the CS, that will get also a video message from the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres. Stella, you got 5 minutes now.
Thank you very much, Debarl, and thank you for making that correction. One day you'll get me in trouble. You had initially introduced me as the EU Youth Ambassador.
Did I say EU?
And I was panicking. And Raphael was joking that it's E for A. But as we speak about the International Youth Day, Debarl, I'm very keen on what the purpose of this International Youth Day is. And one of the main purposes why we have this day and why we celebrate it is to take stock on the developments for youth and the commitments made by duty bearers and policymakers for young people. I'm privileged to have gone full circle. I have been part of the youth who were performing arts during International Youth Days in Kenya. And then I was part of the planning teams working with the ministries, planning for International Youth Day. And now I am part of the panel that is discussing the International Youth Day before it
Truly
gets
a full
here.
circle.
So I actually believe that I have quite some authority on this matter because I have been on all ends of the spectrum. For me, I think the one thing that I will congratulate the government of Kenya on is the consistency in holding these celebrations. There has constantly been an International Youth Week, and we always have a week before it. We used to call it the Harambee Youth Week. I don't know what we are calling it now. But at least we have been consistent in celebrating. What we have not been consistent in doing is actually checking to see that the developments that we are implementing are followed up on, and ensuring that there is a connection from one plan to the next plan, ensuring that the resources that are invested for young people eventually go into the programs that are intended for youth, and ensuring that once we develop one stage, you do not destroy another while creating a new platform for either political popularity or just, for the sake of looking like we're doing something for the youth. The theme for this year is transforming education. And as we talk about transforming education, there are a number of things that we must consider, but the first is the beneficiary of this education. And if we are speaking youth, then we must talk about why the youth need education. Number one, they need education for their own personal development. But number two, and most important, they need education for their aspirations. That we're saying we'll be educating young people. If I give you an education, I'm giving you an education to empower you to get to where you want to get to as a person, to achieve the dreams you want to achieve as a person. Is our education giving young people the much needed development? To a certain extent, yes, it is doing so. Doing so because it is providing the theoretical knowledge and providing a little bit of practical experience on really what they need to get to know. Is it providing their aspirations? Is it providing a pathway for them to reach their aspirations? I think the answer to that question is no. And the reasons why it is not providing for their aspirations is probably the reason why you have convened us here today, Debarl, and we'll have a conversation about that. But then as we talk about that, then let's look at what we are referring to when we talk about education, and even as we're transforming it, then what should we be aspiring for? Number one, we should be looking at the quality of our education. Is it research-based? Is it founded on principles that are understood to be influencing the market? Is it relevant? Is it responding to the market demands? Is it empowering? And when I talk about empowering, I mean, does it give young people access? And once it gives them access, does it give them success in the spaces that it has given them access to? If our education system causes someone to become a journalist, Debarl, does it give them success, like we probably hope you have been able to benefit from? We also need to ask ourselves questions about whether it is truly relevant to young people. The Africa Youth Scenarios report done by the African Alliance of YMCAs actually indicates that young people do not want jobs that last from 8 to 5 p.m. It also indicates that young people are no longer interested in jobs that are going to pay them at the end of the month. They would rather get their pay at the end of the week or at the end of a 2-week period, a short period. The same report actually indicates that young people want to do jobs that are linked to their talents. So of course it helps that our Ministry of Education has actually gone ahead to prepare a curriculum that is based on the child and ensuring that they are focusing on the talent of the child. So they want to work in the areas of their talent areas. They want to be able to exercise their talent and demonstrate their talent as they engage in work. They want to earn money from their talent. And they are now having some aspirational dreams of doing what they love. And what they love is diverse. So responding to this demand is definitely a huge thing. And any government that would be responding to this would if you ask me, find itself in a very difficult situation because there are as many interests, as many talents, as many dreams as there are young people and their talents. So for me, the questions will be responding to include the items that I've mentioned, but of course, also looking at some of the already documented information about what kind of education young people are looking at and what kind of work young people do after they finish with their education. Is our market responding to that? Not all kinds of education happen in the formal sector. Not all kinds of education happen in a school setting. Sure. There's education that happens outside this kind of environment. And I see in the plans that the ministry has for this week is the launching of constituency youth empowerment centers. And they're now called youth empowerment centers because they're no longer being classified to be part of constituencies. These are projects that were invested in during the Kibaki time. And I have had the privilege of actually doing a scorecard in the year 2010. And in this scorecard, we established that there were at least 138 constituency youth empowerment centers. 47 of them were functional at the time. One of the centers that was functional was the Kwale Matuga Empowerment Center. So for me, I have more questions than answers concerning why we are launching this center again on Monday. And probably our conversation is going to expose that. But as we ask these questions, let us check to see that some of these centers that we have set up are not being misused, are not being used for church services, are not being used for events that may not necessarily be benefiting the youth. But let us check to see that these centers are actually platforms for young people to learn and for young people to express their talents.
Right, thank you. Thank you, Stella. We want to take a short break right now. Mark Oseno is saying on Twitter, wonderful theme. We, however, must follow the right legal and policy framework when doing so. Kenya, just like the rest of the countries in the world, should reform higher education system to be able to realign with the global expectations. We have also Irihab KE, just of course echoing what we were discussing. Our voices have been assumed and not heard. And also we have this is David KN. In Kenya, the term youth is very ambiguous. Deserving youth is even more ambiguous. So we will also get to maybe define what the UN is saying. What is the age of the youth? We normally see also politicians saying they're still young. Yeah, in the late 60s and 50s as well. So we want to hear what is the right, do we have an anchored definition of the term youth as well? Right, we take a short break. Don't go away. Stick around for more.
Konza Greens is the only controlled residential development within the Techno City buffer zone. Secure your future today.
Breakfast is not complete without the new Minute Maid Nutri-Defense's Nectar Plus. Complete the most important meal of the day with the goodness of great-tasting juice fortified with vitamin E and zinc to complement your family's nutritional needs. Minute Maid Nutri-Defense's Nectar Plus. Breakfast complete.
Without borders, and we walk upon the waters wherever you would call me. This is a move. This is a move. If I were you, I wouldn't wait. We are here for you. Come and do what you do.
Haters wanasema kuambia Sonko siri ni kama kuficha kipara, itajulikana tu masaa ya maombi.
I'm actually still jobless, but we are in love and we want your blessings. Just as an act, that is a blessed payment of dowry.
Thank you. Thank you. Mankush, with that same analogy, in all honesty, nikikuja kwako nikwambie niko na ng'ombe moja mwisho.
I'll tell you, take my daughter and go with this cow, keep on milking it until when you'll come up with some, because nitawakulia mpaka nikufe.
Gazeti lililoboreshwa la Mwanaspoti linakuletea mengi ya kufurahisha macho na moyo. Kwa taarifa zote za soka, riadha za kusisimua, burudani za kitaifa na kimataifa ambazo zitakukonga moyo, bila kusahau vuvumio na usasa katika fasheni na ulimbwende. Yote haya katika toleo jipya lililoboreshwa la gazeti la Mwanaspoti
utakalopata kila Jumanne na Jumamosi na sasa la Alhamisi
kwa shilingi 35 tu. Pata toleo lako sasa.
So guys, my hubby's parents are coming over for lunch and I am so glad to host them.
Well,
every time I saw a white person, I knew this is the future. This is a breakthrough. So when I met her, she was taking some photos of Margaret Owen. I was like, Mzungu, food and food.
Leo nyota imeng'aa.
Super Loaf, slices of life.
It is always on the edge. It is always football time.
Get an HD decoder, dish kit, plus 2 months of DSTV Family for only 4,999 shillings.
Welcome back. You're watching the Leadership Forum, and we're using for subject this morning the youth bulge and the demographic dividend. That is what we have this morning. In light of what has been happening this week, which is the International Youth Day. They began the activities on the 6th, but the culmination of the day will be on the 12th at the United Nations Gigiri. The theme is, for this year's, of course, celebrations, the transforming education. We've been discussing with our panelists, and we've heard from them as well from the lectern. Right now, we have, lastly, on the lectern, the CS of Youth and Gender. This is Professor Margaret Kobe, to tell us about this particular day and what is the way forward as far as the youth bulge and the demographic dividend is concerned in this country. Professor, you've got 5 minutes beginning now.
Okay. Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. Let me take this opportunity really to thank you for putting youth agenda into leadership forum. And at least I know that everything starts with the leadership and ends with the leadership. Regarding the International Youth Day, which we are celebrating on 12th August 2019 at Matuga, we have had a whole week-long activities where we launched the program in Embu, and we have various activities that have been articulated by the speakers before me. And I think the whole idea is to focus on progress made regarding youth empowerment. Youth empowerment is discussed globally, and that's why the annual celebration of International Youth Day is held across the member states of the United Nations. We are going to have it in Kware, and we'll have various activities, including exhibition of what the youth have been able to do since the last International Youth Week. This is also a week and a day where we take stock of government and other stakeholders are held accountable for the previous International Youth Week. For example, in last year, we did do some commitment what the government will do regarding the recommendations of the last International Youth Week. For example, we did promise that in a way of addressing youth into getting some employment, we are going to come up with internship program. And I'm glad to report that Public Service Commission has already advertised this week for about 3,200 jobs for people to enter in the civil service. Let me say also the government is not like the main employer, but the government works very closely with all other stakeholders to create the right environment to be facilitative so that the economy can grow and then we can create more jobs. My second point, I would like to say that His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta is the United Nations champion for the youth. That tells a lot because he has been involved at the national level to support all youth activities, and he has never missed any of the youth activities, even coordinated by the private sector. For that, you realize in Kenya, we have a State Department of the Youth. That's going to tell us that how government takes that particular youth agenda very serious, because we know that any government that does not invest on the youth, then I think the future of that country is not likely to be as bright. Let me also say that regarding the State Department of Youth, we also see government investing 30% of its budget on education and training. That already tells you how government has itemized investment in the youth as very key. The aim of the government is to have all the youth who can be defined, and the Constitution of Kenya has given us a definition who is a youth. A youth is anybody between 18 and 35. And in Kenyan experience, we are already saying about 75% of our population are between and below 35. But in particular, those who are 18 and 35 are about 40%. And it is this 40% that we are very concerned that are they having meaningful, decent engagement in terms of employment. And if a big population is not having